Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Buffalo Sports Insider, the best show in the 716. Today, I'm your host, Thomas Bailey. Alongside me today is Deanna Suchet Soto, Alex Miley, and Joe Lascala. Two of the three of you are brand new, so I hope you guys enjoy our new colleagues here on the show today. They are going to try their best, and that is what we love about this, is the inclusion of Buffalo Sports Insider. Before we hop right into anything here, we're going to highlight the website, buffalosportsinsider.com. Got a ton of great articles on there for you guys to enjoy. Sabres, Bandits, Bills, whatever. We have you covered and more. Other than that, we also highlight our Twitter, our X, whatever you call that, YouTube, our Facebook, everything else. Go follow us. As we finally hop in here, and we're going to start it off with the biggest news of the day by far. And my man, Mr. Miley, to my right, Casey Mittelstadt traded for Bowen Byram, straight up 1-for-1. How are we feeling?
So for me, it's bittersweet. I love Mittelstadt. He's the best player in the team this year. But it just made sense.
He wasn't really fitting the timeline. He's an RFA this year. We already have our top three centers with Thompson, Cousins, and Krebs. So he didn't really fit in the team.
Really afford to give him that much money, so it made sense now to trade him while his value is at the highest. We pick up a defenseman who's young, who's more controllable, is not a free agent until 2025. So we have another year to see if we want to keep him, move him, see how he plays, or we can trade him next year to get a bigger piece. So I just think, as much as it sucks to see him go, I love the dude. It was time. It was time for him to go.
I personally got to meet Casey Mittelstadt when he still played for the Rochester Americans. And on top of that, our new acquisition, Bowen Byram, with 8 goals, 12 assists, 20 points on the season. As you said, he is signed through next season. He will become an RFA at next season's end. Deanna, what are your thoughts on the trade?
Honestly, Mittelstadt is definitely going to be a sad person to let go for the Sabres. Ever since I came to Buffalo, he's one of the top people that they talk about, and I think it's pretty sad, but I think the Sabres have the ability to move forward with a good player, so it's good to see.
How about you, Joe? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Mittelstadt, he really meant a lot. And his production this season was fantastic, but they clearly have a vision of going with more young, more explosive defensive players, and I think it makes sense. But, as a fan of Buffalo, you got to wish Mittelstadt all the best. He did a lot for the city.
Of course. We all thank you for your hard work and dedication, Casey Mittelstadt. Thank you for an amazing few years. 2017 8th overall pick by the Buffalo Sabres. As we're going to hop into our weekly forecast for the Buffalo Sabres this week, we have 3 games in our next 4 nights. It's an absolutely brutal schedule. We're going to start with the Toronto Maple Leafs at the top. Toronto is entering off a 4-1 loss, but do not let that fool you. They are currently 35-18-8. 78 points. They're tied for 5th in the Eastern Conference and are 3rd in the Atlantic Division, in a stacked Atlantic Division at that, with Boston, Florida, and many other teams. They are 8-2 in their last 10 games, as well as they are going to present a big challenge for the Buffalo Sabres in this one. The projected starter for them is Ilya Samsonov. On the opposite side, of course, your truly Buffalo Sabres. They are entering off that 5-2 loss to Winnipeg on Sunday night, but they're currently 29-29-4, 63 points, sitting at 500 even. And our projected starter for this game is Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. As Alex, I turn it to you. What are your thoughts and your score prediction on the game tonight?
I think with the trade deadline coming up, Mittelstadt just getting traded, I could see the team coming out playing very explosive, very emotional, especially for the guys like Girgensson and Okposo, who are rumored to get traded soon. I could see them come out and play for them. They've been playing much better recently. We usually play pretty well against Toronto. So I could see us coming out with a hard-fought 3-2 win, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen continuing playing well, and I think the team is able to pull this out.
I also think that this could be a really good game for them. I mean, they've lost in the past to them. They've won in the past. It's gonna be about whatever they have to do to get that win. So I think with this trade, it might be a little emotional, but they know what they're doing. It's their time. So.
Yeah, Buffalo tends to do actually pretty well against the Maple Leafs. When I was researching this game, Buffalo was averaging 4.8 points per game against Toronto in their past 10, and Alex Tuch has 6 straight games with a point. So I expect it to be a high-scoring game. I'd probably say 5-2 Sabres.
All right, as we continue that, we're going to have another game in just a couple of nights on Friday, where we take on the Nashville Predators at a second game of 3. Nashville is entering off an overtime loss to the Montreal Canadiens, but they are 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. Beside that, they were on an 8-game winning streak before this loss. They're 35-25-2, which is 72 points, and they're the final spot of the Western Conference playoffs currently. It is a big game for the Nashville Predators and a big game for the Sabres. We could potentially see Bowen Byram in this game, although I doubt it. Alex, I once again turn to you for your thoughts on the game. As projected starter, UC Saros and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen should dominate this one.
Yeah, I don't expect there to be many goals in this one. UC Saros has been playing like the best goalie in hockey over the last couple weeks, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen's been playing also pretty elite. So I expect it to be a low-scoring, hard-fought game. But for the Sabres, I expect their life to be on the line. If we want any chance of making the playoffs, I think we have to win 2 out of the 3 games this week. And I think coming off the hard-fought win against the Maple Leafs, I think spirits will be high. I think we'll still be emotional with the trade deadline. I think we pull this one out in a close one, 2-1.
I actually really agree with that. I think if, when, because we want positivity, when we win against the Maple Leafs, I think that emotion and that drive, having this be a really tough season for them, I think it's going to be a good game to watch. I agree. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, 2-1.
Yeah, as much as I would love for the Sabres to pull this one out, and I do agree we need to win 2 out of the next 3, I don't really see it happening against Nashville. They're pretty hot. So I would say Nashville in a low-scoring game, 3-2.
My honest thoughts on this is a 3-1 game. I feel like 2-1, probably an empty netter gets scored in this one. I think Nashville does indeed win this hockey game. As you guys said, they are a pretty hot team right now. They're 8-1-1 in their last 10. They're probably going to be a little upset about losing that last game. They're still fighting for that wild card spot. I feel like this is a game that's going to get them over the hump and continue their playoff chase. I think they pull out a close one, 3-1 against the Buffalo Sabres. As we head into our final game of the weekend, Oilers are going to be playing on Saturday night against the Buffalo Sabres. Actually, I should say afternoon at 12:30 p.m. Buffalo is 13th in the Eastern Conference. They're 6th in the Atlantic Division. As Alex did say, I feel like we have to win at least 2 of these games as well. And this one's going to be a difficult one. Edmonton's 6-3-1 in their last 10. They are on a 4-game winning streak ahead of their game against Boston, which is going to be tomorrow night. And really, they just beat the Blue Jackets the other night. So they're just continuing a dominant run. They're 38-20-2. They're 5th in the Western Conference, and they're 2nd in the Pacific Division, which, as we know, has 2 very good teams in Vancouver and Vegas residing within that division. So this is another really good game. It's going to be Stuart Skinner versus likely Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen for the 3rd straight game. Keep that in mind. As again, Alex, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think this is the one where we fall. I think Edmonton is just the better team. They're more talented. Obviously, they have the best player in the league with Connor McDavid. After their slow start, where they ended up having to fire their coach, where they started out was like 1-9 or something awful. Everyone thought that this was the year they slowed down, and then they went out and ripped off 16 in a row, and they've been a top 3 team in hockey since that slow start. And I think with how good McDavid in that first line is, I think they're able to pull this one out 4-2.
I don't know. This one might be a tough one, like you said. I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about this one either. I think this is going to be the loss as well. I don't have a prediction on the score though. I don't think I have one.
Yeah, I hate to keep the mood so negative, but I don't think Buffalo can beat Edmonton. Connor McDavid is on a different level, and with the way they're playing, I just don't see Buffalo's clear path to victory. I would go 5-3 Edmonton.
I love the score prediction from Joe. I'm going to also say 5-3 Edmonton Oilers. Again, hate to keep the positivity down here, but I feel like we're going to lose 2 of the 3 games, even though realistically I feel like we need to. But all bias aside, Buffalo loses 2 of the 3 in my personal opinion. Before we get rid of the hockey segment, we're going to talk a little bit about the NHL trade deadline. Of course, we did already highlight the Casey Mittelstadt trade, as that already did happen, but a couple other players on the Buffalo Sabres are rumored to be traded eventually, one of which is Kyle Okposo, and the other of which is Zemgus Girgensons. One is our assistant captain, that being Girgensons, and the captain, Kyle Okposo, in potential trade rumors. The 2 landing spots for Kyle Okposo are Boston and New York Rangers. So we could see that by the end of the day, potentially. So another big thing to highlight here is, do you guys think we end up trading anybody else? If so, who and what kind of return do you feel like we get, Alex?
Yeah, especially after this Middlestat trade, it's pretty clear that the Sabres are sellers at this deadline. Eric Johnson hasn't played in a week. He's not playing again tonight. I think he's a definite. I think he's gone. I think we get a third, fourth, not too much value out of him. He's an expiring deal. He's not a great player, but he does bring veteran leadership. And then I also think Okposo and Jurgensen are gone. I feel like Okposo fits with the Rangers perfectly, as their weakness is forward depth. I think he would bring in a great third, fourth line veteran presence. I think also with him and Jurgensen, I think at most we're getting a third or a fourth. But I think it's needed. I think we got to get these older guys gone, get as much value as you can, and bring in the young guys. Call up players like Isaac Rosen, Yuri Kulich, Noah Ostlund. See if we can get them some playing time in the NHL roster.
Yeah, I mean, Okposo is very emotional that, tonight or these next few games might be his last games. And I think he kind of knows it. I think he kind of knows what's coming for him. Even Alex Tuck popping up, that one hit me a little hard because I have like my own personal love for Alex Tuck. And he's been having a decent season. So it could really go either way. Casey Middlestat was not one that I would have thought of at all either. So.
Yeah, I think Okposo knows he's on borrowed time at Buffalo. I think the Rangers will come and scoop him up by tonight. And it does make sense, but it always hurts to lose your captain and a guy that people are so willing to fight for in that locker room. So he will be dearly missed. Jurgensen's will also be dearly missed. That's your captain and assistant captain going maybe within the same trade deadline. So like I said earlier, I wish them all the best, but I think they know and the Sabres know it's time to get some value for them while you can.
A lot of rumors happening here in Buffalo. A lot of changes could potentially be made. Of course, the Bowen Byram edition. Welcome to the Buffalo family, sir. On top of that, though, thank you again to Casey Middlestat for all your hard work and dedication to the team, and of course, Okposo and Jurgensen as well. If you guys are potentially dealt, of course, Eric Johnson, another big name there. While his time was short in Buffalo, we did enjoy it. Nonetheless, as we're going to move into our second segment here, which is going to be the Buffalo Bandits. All we're really going to talk about today is the Bandits' upcoming matchup with the Saskatchewan Rush. As the Bandits are entering this game on a 3-game losing skid, they lost to the Warriors 13-12. They went down 8-3, and they just couldn't seem to come back. They were just not having the night they wanted, and now they're tied for 5th in the NLL with a 5-6 record. They're in jeopardy of missing the playoffs, one season removed from a championship. That locker room cannot be at its finest right now, fellas. And on top of that, Saskatchewan is entering off a 15-7 win against the Colorado Mammoth. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. They're getting hot at the right time as they continue to make a playoff push. What are your guys' thoughts on this one?
I don't think the Bandits going to be able to pull this one out. I think the championship hangover has really hit them hard. They haven't come out and played like everyone thought they were going to this year. And with how well Saskatchewan has played recently and how not well the Bandits have played, I don't see a path to victory on this one.
I also don't. I mean, the goalie is injured, so they're on a search for a different goalie, and it's just it's not a good time. We peaked last year, and I think that was great, but I don't think right now we're going to peak anytime soon, and I don't know. I don't have a good feeling either.
Yeah, sorry to do it again, but yeah, I always ride with the hot hand. Saskatchewan is clearly playing their best ball as of right now, so unfortunately, going against Buffalo again, but yeah, I'll take Saskatchewan on this one.
Both teams are looking to make an impact and potentially punch their ticket to the playoffs in the coming weeks. As I will, present the full clean sweep of Saskatchewan Rush winning this game. And unfortunately, the Bandits lose their 4th in a row as we finally head to our final segment here. And this one, I feel like we're going to get a lot of chatter about the Buffalo Bills and their cap situation. They have to be cap compliant by Monday. They began the offseason with a league high $36 million over the salary cap after, cutting kick returner / running back, more of a kick returner specialist, Nyheim Hines, and of course, trading Ryan Bates a couple days ago. We now have around 28 to 26 million over the cap still. Of course, we have a lot of things to work out here, but what do you guys think we're going to do to make ourselves cap compliant before the deadline is effective?
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious there, we're gonna restructure players like Josh Allen's deal. I think that'll be able to help us save. And then also, I think we need to extend some players like Teron Johnson, Rasul Douglas, who are coming up to be free agents next year. I think if we can extend them and then be able to restructure to push their money from this year over, I think that'll really help get us cap compliant.
Agreed. I think, with Bates leaving, reportedly the Bills talking to some O-linemen at the combine, I think there's a little bit of things going on there that we don't really know about. We won't know about for a little while, but I think the restructuring of Josh Allen's contract is a definite. And they've mentioned it, it's hard with a quarterback of Josh Allen's caliber to restructure a contract like that, but they're going to have to. Matt Milano is one that I want to talk about because I feel like with his injury, there's no guarantee of him coming back currently. And that might be something they're looking at, even though, he could come back, he could not. It was said that his injury was non-football, that's something they've never really seen before. So I would see maybe a little restructuring for him depending on how his injury looks.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen is obviously the most likely candidate to get restructured. He has the biggest contract, and with him, you can free up the most amount of cap space. But Milano, I also see them restructuring. And it's tough because you need to extend a lot of guys, but you also need to make it in a way where it creates cap instead of just taking away for the foreseeable future. So Teron Johnson, I think, is the best candidate for that. We haven't really given him the money he deserves yet, and he's coming up on that contract, which he needs. Rasul Douglas, who obviously played unbelievable football for us after the trade last season. So there's a lot of things you can do. Extensions are going to be big, and just got to keep an eye out for who they are looking at restructuring besides Josh Allen and Matt Milano.
Yeah, there is a lot of hype around this offseason for the Buffalo Bills, a lot of hope within the building that this team can finally potentially make the moves to get them over the hump within the next year. Another big thing that I'm going to talk about here is that the Buffalo Bills are currently over the cap by a lot, but David Edwards has just signed a contract extension, 2 years, $3 million per year. Alex, what are your thoughts?
I love it. I think he was our sixth lineman last year. We just got rid of Bates, which was great because we were able to clear out $5 million cap. I love the deal. I think we need to be able to find a lot of smart, cheap veterans that can fill in these depth spots, draft well, and I think we need to set ourselves up for next year where we can really help get us under cap compliancy for years to come when we cut players like Von Miller, Dawson Knox, and Trey Way. So I really do love the deal. Very cheap for a guy who played a lot. He was in on our goal line sets or short yardage sets, and only $3 million a year. I think it's a great deal.
Agreed. I think it's a good deal. I do agree with the Von Miller cut. I've been waiting for him for a hot second. I don't know if that's just me or everybody else in this room, but I think this gives us the ability to free up some of that cap space, make us a little more comfortable, and keep moving with those cuts and things. So.
Yeah, after Bates got traded, you kind of knew they needed to extend a backup offensive lineman. $3 million a year, that's fantastic. There's not much better value. He's going to be a great sixth lineman for us, and I think it just makes perfect sense with where the cap's at right now.
All right, and that will conclude this episode of Buffalo Sports Insider. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm your host, Thomas Bailey, of course, joined today by Joe LaScala, Alex Miley, and Deanna Suche Soto.
You got it.
I got it both times. That's impressive. You guys should drop a like on the video just for that. Anyway, enough plugging. Thank you all for watching. I'm your host, Thomas Bailey with Buffalo Sports Insider, and we'll see you all next time.